So I want to start out with a question asking all of y'all, how many of you took time to read the Utah State Drought Plan? Yes, yes. Okay, I figured that we wouldn't be able to get everyone to read it, so I thought we could take this time now and read through it. So, Laura, are you okay to start reading this first paragraph?
You want us all to go to sleep.
No, I'm kidding. Please don't read it. This is entirely a joke. A question that I am often asked is, what is drought and what exactly does drought mean? Unfortunately, there isn't a acceptable, unified definition of drought. And to complicate matters, drought also creates unusual management problems that are related to the uncertainty of the occurrence of the drought, the duration of the drought, the magnitude of the drought, and the severity of the drought. For purposes of our drought plan, so that we can start somewhere, we do quantify drought, and we objectively quantify it to trigger specific state actions as far as that goes. To quantify our drought, we use the Surface Water Supply Index, as was mentioned earlier, and as a short term for that is Swissy. Swissy is designed to complement the Palmer Index, and it's for the western states where snowpack is the key element. And I don't mean to insult anybody's intelligence if you already know what Swissy is. I had to learn what Swissy is, so that's why I'm going into explaining it. But the objective of Swissy, it's the Surface Water Supply Index, is to incorporate both hydrological and climatological features into a single index value for each major river basin in the West, which is a really helpful thing. The inputs that are used to calculate Swissy are snowpack, streamflow, precipitation, and reservoir storage. One of the main advantages of using Swissy is that it's simple to calculate. It gives a representative measurement of surface water supplies across the state. And in addition, each component is given weight based on its typical contribution to the water supply in the state. So if snowpack is a big contributor, then it's given a greater weight. To maximize effectiveness of the state drought plan, it must include 4 different key principles. The first is a continual monitoring supply of the water we have available, so that when deteriorating conditions begin, they can be identified early enough for appropriate actions to be taken. Second, you need to have a response system so that you can meet the existing needs and be aware of situations where the needs are beyond local capabilities. Third is a centralized point of coordination and control. And fourth, you need to identify governmental agencies that can have response actions to assist locals in their needs that they may have. So I wanted to start out, as we get into this drought plan that we have, I want to introduce you to some key players of our drought plan. And the first is our state drought coordinator. When things are quiet, that's me. I'm the state drought coordinator. I do simple little things. When things start happening and decisions need to be made, I pass the baton on to Mike Styler. And we changed roles because Mike Styler is the director of the Department of Natural Resources. He's very far up the food chain from me. And the reason he becomes the new state drought coordinator is because he has the power and authority to actually do things. And it becomes my job just to support him. And I sing the song in my head, and I know all y'all are going to sing along with me. And it's, he's got the power. Come on. So next, I will introduce you to the Water Supply Availability Committee. That reads as WSAC. And the lead agency in the Water Supply Availability Committee is the Division of Water Resources. So this committee is activated by Mike Styler because that's a decision-making process. I'm not allowed to make decisions, obviously. But so he makes that decision, and he decides to make that decision by writing a memo. And the memo is written to all of the lead agencies in the task forces, like when Dave was talking about the different, not Dave, Cody was talking about the different task forces in a drought response plan. He writes the memo to them and says, guess what? We're on board, let's get going. So the committee chair is Mike Styler, and the vice chair is the Division of Emergency Management Director. So that would be Chris Hamlet. And I just got ahead of myself. I apologize. Can we rewind just a few minutes? So, Water Supply Availability Committee is a division of water resources. They keep track of information. They are the foundation of our drought plan. It's their responsibility to be on board and be aware of what is going on in the state in all aspects of areas of water related. Next, on top of that foundation, we have the Drought Review and Reporting Committee. So when I was talking about that memo that gets things started, that's actually to get this committee started. The Water Supply Availability Committee is going on every day, 365 days a year. We're good. The Drought Review and Reporting Committee is activated by a memo written by Mike Styler, and it is chaired by Mike Styler and co-chaired by Chris Hamlet. If anybody knows him personally, let me give him a chance to, I don't know that he knows, so I need to, drop the bomb on him politely. So to make up, a committee is more than just two people, the chair and a vice chair. We also have committee members. And I feel like I'm about to announce the names of winners because I don't know that everyone knows they're on the committees. So on the edge of your seats, if you're ready, I'm getting ready to call all y'all out. First, we have the Department of Environmental Quality. Second, we have the Department of Agriculture. Do we have people from these departments here? Awesome, thank you. Thank you very much. Next, we have the Governor's Office of Economic Development, followed with Division of Forestry, Fire, and State Lands. Next is the Division of Wildlife Resources. And finally, we have the Governor's Office of Management and Budget. So now y'all know, these are our task force leaders in different areas. And I'm going to get into what each individual task force, their assignments are, and which of these agencies are assigned to which task force. So, two of the main responsibilities that each of the task forces have, they have two things that are equal all across the board. Every single task force needs to identify their existing and potential drought-related problems in their area. Second, they need to report those problems to the Drought Review and Reporting Committee. That's the DRRC, Drought Review and Reporting Committee. So, two things: find out what your problems are, what they can be, and then report those problems. Those are the two common task force responsibilities. Now we get into the unique responsibilities. First, we have Task Force 1, which is the Municipal Water and Sewer Systems. The lead agency on this task force is the Department of Environmental Quality. On top of those two things that every task force has to do, find your problems, report your problems, they also are required to assess the ability of municipal water systems and sewer systems to withstand the drought impacts of what they're going through. They're also required to assess firefighting capabilities related to low system pressures and supplies, low water supply levels. Then we go on to Task Force 2, which is agriculture. Obviously, it is led by the Department of Agriculture. So along with finding out what your problems are and then reporting your problems, you get to also emphasize the impact on soil erosion, crop and livestock loss, and insect and pest problems. Task Force 3 is called Commerce and Tourism, and their leader is the Department of Community and Economic Development. They are tasked with assessing the impacts of drought in areas such as loss of sales tax, revenues, increase in unemployment, decreases in tourism, visitation levels, and lodging receipts. It's amazing to me just how much drought affects every aspect of our lives. Task Force 4 is Wildfire, and their lead agency is the Division of Forestry, Fire, and State Lands. They assess fire protection capabilities and resources and any other outside sources of assistance. And they also identify the high priority threats and where those threats may be. Task Force 5 is Wildlife, and their lead agency is the Division of Wildlife Resources. They identify potential drought problems relating to losses in game, fish, and non-game wildlife. And I have a little moment of pride right now. I actually took this picture, and I'll be signing signed originals in the back afterwards if you want. But no, not really. A little side joke and insight into my life. My husband is an avid hunter, and we laugh at the juxtaposition that's created in our home because this is hanging on one side of the wall when his ancestor's head is on the other side of the wall. Not alive anymore, but was at one point. Quite funny. So our final task force is 6, which is called Economic. And their lead agency is the Governor's Office of Management and Budget. And so along with finding their problems and reporting their problems, they also get to compile everybody else's problems and put a monetary value with all of the issues that have sprung up because of drought. So we have the Drought Review and Reporting Committee, which is the DRRC. Next, we have the Drought Response Committee, which is the DRC. So we lose an R. There's a lot of letters, and it gets pretty complicated quickly. So I'm hoping you're up to speed with me. I will read a part of the plan because this sentence is important. It helps us transition from the DRRC to the DRC, and that is, when it is evident that drought-related problems exceed the capacity of local entities to continue without assistance, the DRRC, the Drought Review and Reporting Committee, will recommend that the governor proclaim a drought emergency. So once the governor has proclaimed a drought emergency, and that is based on a recommendation coming from the DRRC, then the DRRC morphs into the Drought Response Committee. I'm even getting tripped up over it. Another important little disclaimer that I should add is state action is only taken when local capabilities cannot cope with existing or growing needs. So the Drought Response Committee is chaired again by Mike Styler because he has the authority, he has the power, he can do those things. I give him the base information and then he takes off and runs with it. And then the committee, like in the case of, so on the Drought Review and Reporting Committee, I don't want to be insulting to others, but lower levels like myself might be on that committee. But when we get to the Drought Response Committee, we are talking lead managers, lead agencies. The top dogs, the big guns, are in on this Drought Response Committee. And they also have 4 responsibilities that they will do. 1, they will review the unmet needs that were brought to their attention by their task force members. So remember when we were talking about the task force members, find your problems, report your problems. If you don't report your problems, then we can't have this Drought Response Committee be effective. They need to know where the needs are and if there's any unmet needs. And then the Drought Response Committee is then, the second thing that they do is they will identify how those needs can be met. and make recommendations to those individual task forces. And third, they ensure interagency coordination. And fourth, determine when deactivation should occur. Not if, but when, because good things are coming, right? So just real quickly, I'll go through the assignments. As water problems arise, depending on the different type of water issue it is assigned to a different department or agency. Water shortages go to the Department of Natural Resources, along with wildfire and wildlife. Agricultural problems go to the Department of Agriculture. Water, sewer systems, and health problems go to the Department of Environmental Quality. Commerce and tourism, they are the Department of Community and Economic Development. Economic problems go to the Governor's Office of Management and Budget, and in the unfortunate event that there are life-threatening situations, which I really hope there are not, it goes to the Department of Public Safety. This is a little comic relief since we're talking about life-threatening situations. This is a picture of my dog, and this is the face that I get when I ask him not to get in the puddles. Another personal insight to my life. I'm not lucky enough to have my kids live with me, and so he gets to be my kid, and he lives a very, very pampered life. And every time I talk to my dad about him, my dad always says that he landed in a tub of butter when we adopted him. And I know this is a little side note and a little, probably you might not think it's related, but I promise you it is. It's related because remember my husband's an avid hunter? His name is Trigger. So now we're going to talk about the triggers in our drought plan. Our drought plan, the different phases are outlined based on the Swissy Value indices, which is the Surface Water Supply Index. We're running short on time, so I wanted to go through each of these, but there isn't enough time for us to go through that. And so we talked about the different committees that go through that are involved. We have the Drought Review and Reporting Committee, and then when we enter into a deeper phase of drought, and the governor declares that we are in a state of emergency, then we move into the Drought Response Committee, and Phase 2 is Drought Review and Reporting Committee. Phase 3 is the Drought Response Committee. Phase 3 is the highest phase that we have outlined in our plan. And this outlines the different actions that will be taken. But essentially, it boils down to the task force members and what they are able to report and what they are able to get us all informed on. And I've really been dragging my feet on doing this presentation because I have to hang my head in shame, and nobody likes to do that. But here we go. I don't have any way around this, unfortunately. But I know that the question all y'all are asking, because it's the same question I asked, is what are the Swissy values in our state? And here they are. Here's a list of our regions and the associated Swissy numbers, and this was posted in May of this year. You'll notice that in several of these basins, we are way beyond minus 2.0 drought. And according to our action plan, if we had a chance to go through the details of those, you'd notice that we should be at least in a phase 2, if not a phase 3. We should have the Drought Review and Reporting Committee meeting now, discussing now what our problems are and reporting what our problems are. And unfortunately, we're not. But on the plus side, we are holding this conference. We are becoming aware that this is a plan. It is a decent plan. It could use improvements. That's why we're all here. I want to hear what you have to say. How can this be improved? I mean, I'm very new to all of this, and I'm excited, and I'm ready to go with it, and I want to hear what you have to say, what you think should be better. And I want to thank you all for coming and for supporting us in all of this. Thank you.